Following show may shock, disturb, and offend some viewers. The opinions, theories, and facts shared on this podcast are not widely accepted by the brainwashed masses, especially those who find dark humor offensive. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood. The Unabomber blowing up. Waco, Texas, and Heaven's Gates. Aliens modified, meant for mapes. JFK shot in the head by the CIA. Bigfoot and the Mothman. Son of Sam talking to dogs again. Witches, ghosts, and goblins. Mysterious noise and hauntings. Dark arts in the skull and bones. Most celebrities are probably cloned. So if you're feeling all alone, crack a beer and get stoned. I welcome you to the podcast Strange Brew. We're here to entertain you. We're here to entertain you.
It's about to get strange.
Welcome, everybody, back to the show. Welcome back to the show. I am Tomcat, a.k.a. Tom Thompson, the Raptilian. You can find my music in all music platforms. I'm here. This is the show. We're in for a wild ride. This is
Hey, Jose. Yeah, what? Listen to this is coming. You know what it is? What? It's Strange Brew
Podcast.
And who am I joined by?
I love that so much. I was just thinking there, Jordan, when I was singing along with the intro song, I was just thinking to myself, I think we've switched roles now. So like Tom was talking about giving up alcohol, and he's going to be like, little daddy, and he's going to give up everything. He's going to quit the podcast, quit life.
I'm not going to quit the podcast. That's
and
not
like
gonna happen.
now it's like a random Tuesday, and I'm drinking. Tom's like under the weather, not well. So it's like
Yeah.
we've had a complete like reversal of
know.
roles.
I get sick once a winter in this god-awful fucking communist country, and this is one of the days. And, I was looking through, I'm starting to tear apart the studio. We'll still be recording. It's just going to be in my bedroom, which is going to be tough, but I essentially had a whole room for doing this stuff, and when Billy was down. But I was going through all some of my stuff. I showed you I found this. I'm not going to even show people what that is. I'll just be like, let people be like, what the fuck is that Nazi shit? And then obviously I have like 2 copies of this, but the original Strange Brew movie, which I really want to do for a watch along for Patreon. So for all the fans out there, the best way to support the show is Patreon. We get a handful of people coming through there supporting the show, but it is a really good way to support the show next to buying merch. And even merch, we don't get a lot of money from, but I'd rather you rep it. So we use a certain site that doesn't pay us a lot, but I'd rather you have it and be able to get it across the world. I know we have fans in Europe and all over the world in all sorts of different countries, and we have fans of different people from every different place. And that's why I believe in bringing people together under the banner of humor and conspiracy and everything strange. But I want to do some more stuff for the Patreon. I just did a little short episode for Tomcast. Essentially, I was originally going to make that its own show on everything, but I'm going to keep it to more Patreon, where I do like rant episodes. And I was just reading the news because some chick stabs some young kid for no reason. She's had literally a mental breakdown, and I was like, wow. And I saw someone else posting about it, so I saw it as soon as I brought the news up. And then I saw how Phil Collins was looking pretty bad. And then it made me, I brought up that that Tarzan song. When you open your heart, or whatever it is. And I was like, man, I haven't heard this in so long. So you'll get stuff like that on Patreon, where I'm just going to goof around. But I also want to do things like watch-alongs and stuff like that will be aired specifically. It will be live on Patreon and Rumble. But once it's over, it'll be taken off Rumble and put on straight onto Patreon. So please support the show. But I would love, even me and you and Billy, like all 3 of us, to do a watch-along of Strange Brew. It is where this movie, like this whole inspiration comes from.
I don't think people realize either that like we actually pay to do this show. So
Yes,
like,
we do.
Yeah, like when I say I make 0 money from merch, I mean 0. Like
Yeah.
I make like, I don't know, like 40 cent if you buy a t-shirt for like 30.
Yeah, I know. It's the same thing. Like if you buy like a t-shirt, we'll get like $2 or $3. That's why I'm saying like a lot of this stuff, right? It does cost money to put this show out, no matter what people want to believe or not. We do reach hundreds of people. We have thousands of fans. but at the end of the day, it does take work and effort and our time to do this show. So obviously everyone that does listen and supports the show, please support us by even, doing the free things, leaving us a review and like and commenting and sharing it, because it does more than you think. And I think that we don't bring this, we mentioned at the end of the show, so these people are tuning out, but like at the beginning, hey, like if you like the show, and you like, just the fun aspect of the show, please support the show. You may not agree with everything I say or everything Aaron says or Billy jokes about or any of this shit. That doesn't matter. It's the idea of we're supposed to be having fun with this show, and everyone's been too fucking serious. We talked about this on your show, Class Horrorcast, of like this polarization of people and like how they're like, well, and they're in their corners. And it's like, if you don't believe in everything, absolutely everything I do, then you need to get out of here. And they're like,
it's even like it's gone to like things that are even not as serious. Like I've actually seen people willing to like punch the head off each other over like an opinion on a movie. And I'm like, please stop.
It's crazy, man.
It literally doesn't matter. But like, yeah, we were just talking about before we started recording, like, we were looking at some of the numbers on YouTube and different places, like thousands of views and then like 4 likes.
Yeah, it's like people.
Is if you're taking the time to watch any of it, even if it's only half the episode, 10 minutes the episode, the whole episode, whatever, please hit that like button.
I know it means more than you think. If you're enjoying, just like click it, right? Even if you tune in for 10 minutes, or I'll watch this on audio, click it. Just do us a goddamn favor.
Psychic vampires stealing the energy from the kid.
Yes, we were talking about psychic vampires. This will be a fun time. This is kind of a fun thing to get into because, this is
Don't be an emotional vampire.
I do think that Aaron was probably one in some regard in his life, and probably so was I. I definitely have been an emotional vampire at some points of my life.
Yes, sir. Yes, I have.
I'll let
I'll
let you read this.
Beware the reckless energy vampires among us. Not all of them have visible horns with sharp fangs and wear black capes under the cover of darkness, but they can be equally as deadly in their methods.
Yes.
I mean,
and with your calming voice, you could be like a Colin Robinson if you were just like, someone commented on one of our videos and they were like, when we were live, I can't remember what episode, maybe the Satanic Hollywood one. And they're like, man, this guy needs to do like a book reading. And I was like,
oh yeah, I had
me.
someone actually reach out to me on Instagram after that. I think, I want to say it was a lady, and she was like, can you do like, I don't know, like scary story narrations or something, like, those like fall asleep listening to like stories or like mysterious disappearances.
Yeah.
I actually listen to them sometimes. There's a guy who's really good. He's called Steve Stockton. I think he's an older guy, but he has one of those really like calming voices. And sometimes at night I'll like put it on. It's like a 4-hour compilation of him talking about missing people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not even really listening to the story. It's more his voice. And I'm like, wow, this shit's making me like woozy. Get a little woozy here, man.
I feel a little woozy here, man. Billy, fucking whatever. It is because like I don't know, I'm too rambunctious, but I would like to do stuff like this again. If you're like, for the Patreon, we were doing scary stories. Me and Billy were doing it. It was just a lot of editing because I wanted to do like kind of creepy passes with sound effects, and we did I think 2 or 3. I actually have one still recorded somewhere of me doing one that I haven't released yet, but it was like Billy did one about this like toilet monster. I had like poop sounds and stuff like that. And it was funny for when we were first starting to build up the Patreon, right? But we'll have like a bunch of people in the Patreon, but only like, 12, 15 of them are paying. So please do support the show. I'm actually on my knees right now, just begging for some help to make sure the show gets out here.
Please, I'm gonna kill myself if not.
Yeah, I've got the rope already tied in my closet.
The blood will be on your hands.
The blood will be on your hands because you do not support the show. And I feel like, I don't know. Let's just cut to let's cut to Colin Robinson, because like I just wanted to play this clip. I was like, we were just talking about how YouTube is terrible, but I don't really care if I get copyrighted.
Now we're going to prove our point.
Yes, copyrighted for like a 2-minute clip. This is just so funny. I love this show. If you have not seen What We Do in the Shadows, I love the movie, but the show is like also equally as it's very funny, especially Colin Robinson. Let me know if you can hear this.
My name is Colin Robinson, and I am what's known as a psychic vampire or energy vampire.
Colin, what are you doing in here?
This is my bedroom. I'm resting. Am I a morning person? That would be an enthusiastic yes. I've never had anyone in here. I have a strobe light up and a couple speakers playing some acid jazz. I have some paintings, some pictures. I found it at a Holiday Inn. Nandor! I wake up hungry and I get to feed all day.
Go away, please, Colin Robinson.
Nandor, it's time to name that tune.
Guillermo, get him out of here.
Did you get out of here?
You're
I made it up.
I think I know someone like this.
That's what I call my morning cup of coffee. This is my office, also known as the hunting ground. Dan, how are you? Mornings are great for feeding. People aren't really, frustrated yet by the entire day. I don't know. Is this turkey cut freshly from the breast, or is it a pre-processed roll?
All of our meats are actually freshly sliced.
Oh, I prefer the roll. We are day walkers, not affected by the sun. Everyone kind of focuses on the day part of day walker, but actually no one focuses on the walker part. There's a lot of walking.
According to the statute, Mr. Chapman's residence was originally zoned as a mixed use or multiple dwelling
That shit's scary.
I come here every week. It's a smorgasbord of banality and despair.
Mr. Robinson, you're next up. Is Mr.
I'm just going to
Robinson
do
here?
a quick mega feed, and then I'll be right
Mr.
back.
Robinson, are
Council, Madam President, when it comes to zoning ordinances, I have a few thoughts. Ordinance, what does it mean?
Are you leaving with us?
No, I can't stand up right now, if you know what I mean.
Oh man, there's so many like really funny clips of him on that show. I gotta end that. Stop screen. Stop sharing. Turn it off, please. Shut up. This is so funny. Like, it is kind of creepy when he's like this. And there's so many scenes in that show where he's like essentially like boring people, because that's what you're stealing the energy from people, is the idea you're an energy eater. And then he's like consuming them, and they're just like getting tired and falling asleep because he's so boring.
He's just thriving. I've definitely met people like that though, that use that form of like
yeah. Oh,
like that boring, like kind of monotonous droning, and I'm like, wow, you are absolutely. I had an area manager one time when I worked for GameStop, and it was like that. He would bring me out for lunch, and he was like a really nice guy. There was just something about him. Every time he'd leave, I'd be like, wow, I am so fucking fatigued, and I've done absolutely nothing. Only listen to your shit.
You know who it reminds me of? Ben Stein, of course, Jew, but Ferris Bueller. Bueller, and like he did that one show that people watch, is like a Canadian thing, I think, and it was like it was like entertaining but kind of boring at the same time. It was like a game show or some shit. But yeah, energy vampires. The most common and modern mental picture associated with vampires is breathtakingly beautiful but innately scary man or woman with pale skin, pointy canine fangs, and hypnotic eyes. This physical form is then I was like, I'm trying not to cough to this. Coupled with an insatiable desire to suck the blood of an mortal humans in order to live off them indefinitely in their perfect bodies. The recent surge in vampire popularity has led to the rise in a small sect of people who wish to get their own energy boost from drinking the blood of the willing and physically fit, clean, healthy donors. Isn't that crazy? A medical condition that reduces red blood cells in the body or limits the amount of iron or hemoglobin in people's systems can actually be logically, scientifically reason behind the desire to absorb one's blood. But there is legit people, like kinks, where people do consume blood. It's a kink.
I mean, when I see certain scenes like that scene in Blade where they're in a nightclub and there's all those hot chicks covered in blood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. But then at the same time, I'm like, if I was actually there, I'd probably be going like, ugh. Oh, like
How about
fucking
this one?
hepatitis everywhere. I mean, yeah, that's like I'm not against that. Like, but then at the same time, if that
Imagine.
was reality for me, I'd be like thinking like I said, hepatitis and shit. I'd be like, "Ugh, this is something gross."
So it's a picture of a woman. She is essentially feeding off of another woman's vagina with her vampire fangs. That thing would look like a mangled old sandwich down there. You know what I mean?
And some of them do before they get hit with the fangs.
Yeah, it's true. Want to read this for me?
Sure. Emotional vampires, the victim, they have a poor me attitude and pretend that the world is always against them and is the reason for their unhappiness. How to protect yourself. Set kind but firm limits. Don't let them manipulate you into feeling sorry for them. I've definitely probably done that as well.
Yeah.
I've definitely probably done that, to be fair. Did you have I have a list here of like all the different types of energy vampires. I don't know if you
We'll get into that in a bit. Let's just break this down a little more. It is funny because we've all
energy vampires, it's said, have a life expectancy of exactly 100 years.
we've all been there. We've all like kind of been an energy vampire in some regards. Like at least if you were at least a kind of popular person or had different relationships. I've definitely felt the energy off of if I felt low, making another person feel low because I feel low. That is technically an energy vampire. There's people that literally give off this energy also of like where they're just sad and depressed all the time, and it literally can bring your mood down. That's a real thing. Energy can be like everything is made of energy and vibrations, and if that person's vibration is constantly low, and even I come to it, right, being angry about the problems in the world, and then obviously the reptilians or the dark energy, actual real energy vampires that I think do exist are consuming our energy to some extent. And I was going to bring up this idea of like, like you also have like women, a lot of women that could be energy vampires, you know what I mean? Fucked by a vampire, fucked by a movie vamp. I was just showing all these weird novels, A Vampire Sex Game. How like there's definitely women out there that seduce people and consume men's energy income.
So here's something interesting for people, and it can be a little if you are into what we're talking about in this episode and you want to dive deeper and maybe get a kind of more in-depth look at it. My 100th episode of Class Horrorcast was a crossover with those conspiracy guys. And we covered a case called the Queen of the Damned.
Yes, that we're bringing up on the
true crime killer or whatever, about a guy called Alan Menzies, who basically became obsessed with Aaliyah in Queen of the Damned. Watched the movie like 15,000 times a day. So much
She's
so that
quite good looking,
Yeah, but so much so that he thought that she was like talking to him.
That's fucking crazy.
And he was like hallucinating her in the room and all, and she was basically like, if you sacrifice somebody, you can like be a vampire with me and we can be like immortal together and all this shit. So he was watching the movie with his mate, and his mate was like, fucking hell, again? I was like, oh, it's this shit again, like, and he was like, yeah.
What's his name?
No worries. Alan Menzies.
Okay.
Menzies, I think. And yeah, he basically went like, yeah, we're watching it again, and then bashed his fucking friend's head in his bedroom, and then broke his skull open at 8 pieces of his brains.
That's crazy. Like you have to be
I
super.
posted that episode as well, right? And I said a lot of stuff what's supposed to be on the internet, and his
weird looking dude, like
his first cousin contacted me by email, and she was like, "That's not the full story, by the way." And there was somebody else involved in that case that was there the night that guy was murdered, and it's not as clear cut as you would think it is. And she was actually supposed to come on the show for an interview, and then I don't know, she just kind of disappeared.
He
was highly offended by what I said.
Jeffrey Dahmer shares chilling similarities with Scott, vampire cannibal killer. This guy, he kind of just looks like a normal dude. And then he just got obsessed with this shit, obviously.
Yeah, like supposedly he would literally watch it like constantly on repeat every single day, 7 days a week for like months and months.
That's crazy. Some people, man, their minds are just warped beyond belief. That movie is not even that good.
Not really. Do you know what's funny as well? I was
I rewatched
I
it.
was
not long
listening
ago.
to another podcast. It's actually another one of my mates that would know Gordo and stuff really well, called Monster Fuzz podcast, that do
Yeah,
all
I've
like
heard of it.
cryptids and stuff. And like the lads only live like 5 minutes from me. And their most recent episode, they were actually talking about that case. And one of them was like, you know what though? If I was like that far gone, that I was like hallucinating her, like probably fucking, I don't know, fingering herself on my bed and all in her vampire form, being like, oh, you know, fucking sacrifice someone. And I genuinely thought it was happening. He was like, you know, I'd probably do the same shit. Like if I was actually believing all these.
It's crazy that people can believe these fantasies in their head, though.
It is wild to me as like a quote unquote sane person. I'm like, at what point though did you actually think that Aaliyah had like teleported through the TV from a movie that was shot in 2001?
Yeah, and the thing is, as much as I believe that there's maybe forces, darker energies, even when I had Jeremy McKenzie on, I joked about how like we did an episode about a cult, like essentially this internet cult, which it was just a chick, a lady posting like on one of those like kind of old school websites, like early 90s, late 90s thing, where it's like all different colors and fonts. Me and Billy we reminisced a lot about MSN and AOL and the older days of the internet and how different it was, and like I was joking to Jeremy about it, and I was like, yeah. And then she like killed her husband because she thought that he was a vampire, or thought he was a reptilian, or something regards like that. And he was like, yeah, and those people vote. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy, right? So it's like the idea of like, yeah, no, everyone should vote. But then would I be able to vote then, because I believe in some of these things, but I would never, like, I still think that we have to exist in this physical reality, and you can't let yourself detach from it. It happens when people do too many drugs, right? They detach from this reality. And then if there is some sort of demonic force that is like beckoning them to do bad things, they might just do it then, because they're like spirits in vodka, right? The idea of alcohol and spirits. And then you see people do crazy things when they're on those states.
There's a guy who lived in the town. He's a couple of years older than me. Was a really good musician. Like seemed like he had his head screwed on. And I'm talking about a really good musician. And but he was always a fan of the devil's cabbage or the devil's lettuce, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And he gradually would like started to smoke his brains out more and more and more. And like everyone kind of knows, was like, like fucking paranoid and stuff, like really paranoid. And then he went away somewhere on like some trip. I don't know if you like Vietnam or like somewhere mad. And like he went for like 4 or 6 weeks or something, and came back and was literally like brain dead. And it was like a completely different person. It was like he had some like psychotic break. I don't know whether it was some drugs. Like no one ever really found out the real story. But he basically went mad, right? And he became a Freemason. And
weird.
all this shit, right? And was like believing in all this demonic stuff and all, and like was gone like full blown crazy, right? But then had like another big, huge like mental crisis. And I think like he lost his house, like he had a kid, he wasn't allowed to see his kid anymore, and all this shit, right? I think he went into like some sort of mental hospital or something, and then came out. And since then, like he's referred to now in our town as the preacher. So now all he does all day is he has a little portable speaker with a microphone thing on him. And
Yes.
he just walks up and down the town preaching about God and about like how he saved them and all this shit, right? So much so, right? He's done it so much that the cops actually have arrested him a shitload of times, and he got brought to court by the police, and he has a 2.5 year ban that says he's not allowed to speak in public in Wexford Town.
Freedom of speech, man.
His way around it now, he's a very clever guy still, even though he's gone dull. His way around it now is he gets on a bicycle. So technically he's not walking.
Yeah.
And he cycles from one end of the town to the other literally all day. Now the guy is gone like into another dimension, but like
as long as he's not hurting anybody, really.
I'll find his TikTok, right? Because I noticed the other day that he goes live on TikTok every day, right? And he like preaches and stuff on TikTok. I'll find his TikTok account and I'll send it to you. But like even in it, like you can tell he talks about like when this all happened. He doesn't say what done it. He doesn't mention anything about drugs or anything about smoking or anything about drinking alcohol or anything, or being away and like having some sort of mental breakdown. But he talks about all this like demonic stuff coming into his life. And he was like, I thought by joining Freemasonry it was going to like save me, and it made it worse, and like there was more stuff happening. They tried to ruin my life and I tried to get out of it, and I realized what was going on. And they like tried to fuck with my whole life and all this shit.
Imagine
Wild.
if he was telling the truth though.
Well, this is the thing, and it's like we talked about this several times. Sometimes I look at him and I go, "Is this your classic like witch hunt thing where you go, crazy man, fucking lunatic, don't listen to him, he's full of shit," and like he's actually telling the truth, but now everyone's like, "Oh, that's just a mad preacher." It's just like the crazy preacher guy.
Could be though. Could be.
Damn, son.
It is crazy, right?
My skin is turning green. I'm a reptilian.
Have you ever been susceptible to? So if we go the other way, I think we've both agreed that we've probably been energy vampires, emotional vampires, all that kind of stuff. But have you ever been on the receiving end of it? Do you think, like severely?
To some extent, probably with some relationships I've had with females where, I like. There's been definitely times where I've really cared about a girl, especially in my like teenage years. You're young and angsty and like just full of anxiety and the shit I went through, trauma. That's why I probably became an energy vampire in some regard. Is my own trauma to deal with my own things, and then I was drinking too much and obviously dabbled in some drugs and stuff like that didn't help me. And but I've definitely been there where like I've like really liked a girl and then we break up and I'm calling her and like especially the one chick I was like calling and her sister's like she doesn't want to talk to you right now and I'm like but I need to talk to her. Like I'm like 14 or something like that.
I oh my god, I can resonate so much. And this was even a little bit later in life. I had some like mad shit happen to me, and I was like, my life's over. I can never meet anyone ever again. Basically, what happened was I had a kid with somebody I shouldn't have had a kid with way too young.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm never going to be able to meet anyone ever again. Oh my God, my whole life is over. How can I talk to a chick now? And then when the thing comes up about, oh, by the way, I think I'm having a kid with somebody, but I'm not sure because she has sex with lots of people. And I'm like, I'm fucked. And then I meet this chick. It's literally the day before Valentine's, like a year later or whatever. And it's just completely random. And it's one of those like in my head, I was like, oh, it's like the movies, man. I was like in a bar that I didn't want to be in. And I bumped into this chick and I was like, oh shit, sorry. And then we just got talking. And it was like just really quick, the whole thing. Now, obviously, I was really vulnerable. I didn't realize at the time. And I was just looking for somebody.
Of course, yes.
And then she was probably in a similar spot. But I remember at one point, after a while, it became crazy, like to the point where like she smashed a bottle over my head. Just loads of wild shit, like punching the head off me and stuff. And I'd be like, wow, this is like psychotic. But then I was like wanting more of it at the same time. I was like, give me more. Yes.
Yeah, I've been there too. And it is kind of crazy when you start to look at stuff like that, where I think a lot of people will be able to relate, especially being in a toxic relationship and maybe one person is taking more of energy of the other person. But obviously a lot of times when people just get out of relationships, especially one that they cherished, or maybe like a woman was in a relationship with a man that was violent and abusive and stuff like that, and then they're free, they go out into the world and they're like, they want to meet a new guy, and then it's like new and fresh. That feeling, like I haven't felt that for like a long time. Obviously I'm married and I'm settled down and I'm happy with my life and with my wife, and I'm very excited to be a father. But I still remember that feeling that you get when you first meet somebody and it's kind of new and you're just, they're like a puzzle piece. My problem was too, like I have a very addictive personality to some regard. And I feel like I did even with women, especially because I had sex when I was fairly young. Most people would be like, yeah, wow. Yeah. I was just almost 13 or whatever. And the chick was like 14 and blonde and everyone thought she was hot in town. And, you know what I mean? And then we dated. I had a very adult relationship for being a teenager. There was fights and sex and all that stuff. Right. And then, this idea of like, then now I'm like, there was times where I would like meet with a chick. Oh, if she wouldn't have sex with me, then on to the next one. And I was like doing this at 14, 15, 16 or whatever. Right. And this, and playing girls off of each other. Like, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget when I went to like a dance and me and this girl were supposed to be dating. We're on and off. We're on and off for years, especially around my emo time. And then I would always go to the dances. And then I invited her, but she couldn't get in because it was too late. Like they've already like kind of closed the doors. And I could see her through like we're up top of this place. I could see her in the window. They was like hanging out on the lawn, definitely drinking. And then I came out, and me and my buddy Curtis had a contest of who could get the most kisses. And so we literally went around and then was like, would you just give me a peck on the cheek to all these chicks? It was fun for us, right? We're like very young, like 14 or whatever. And then there's one chick, Natalie, I'll never forget. She was like one of the chicks that was kind of like more punk. She reminded me of like not Veruca. So, you know, the chick from, gonna bug me, from the witch movie, not Charmed. What am I thinking? You know, the one with Nev Campbell. What can I think of this? Craft or whatever. You know, like you kind of want to do her crazy chick. She was like that, like more ahead of her time with wearing makeup more than the other chicks. And she had lipstick. So she like kissed my entire face. There's just lipstick covering my face everywhere. And then I went outside and this chick freaked out. And like I walked away, but I could hear her crying and freaking out over me while I was like, I need to get out of here with all my friends. And yeah,
it's so crazy those situations like that. And like I was saying, like that chick that was like punching the head off me, and it was so toxic and wild. Like we went to the States together multiple times for like a month-long trip and stuff. Like we nearly got thrown out of Universal Resort by security on 2 separate occasions on 2 separate trips, just from like drunken, like retarded, just absolutely ridiculous behavior. Like, and I remember even one time we were out one time and she was like, oh, I'm done with this and blah, blah. And we like split up like that week, like on a Thursday or something. And on a Saturday, I went out because I knew she'd be out.
Yeah, of course, right?
And
Yeah,
I'm like, let me get like, and I'm like super drunk. She's super drunk. And I was like really like irrational and like just stupid time, like taking shit tons of Xanax and stuff. And I seen her with a dude, right? And I was like, ooh, this is not suiting me. And I didn't freak out or anything, but like I was trying to talk to her and she just like wasn't having it. And she left the club with this guy, right? And I was like, she's definitely gonna fuck him. And this was like in my head. I was like freaking out.
Oh yeah, because that feeling of them being with somebody else is like the worst.
And I remember waiting for a cab down at like this spot where everyone kind of went. And as I'm sitting there waiting, she arrives and sits like 4 or 5 people away with this dude. And I'm like, this is fucking it's almost all right. This will tell you how crazy my behavior was.
Yeah.
I stayed up all night trying to contact her on the phone. At a certain point, she just turns the phone off because obviously she's with this guy and she's like, I'm not fucking listening to this. I didn't show up to work the next day. And I went and bought flowers and called to her house and we got in bed together and cuddled all day like a bitch after she had fucked some dude and thrown him out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now bear in mind, right? I'm behaving like this. I have this like beta behavior, but I also used to have house parties in my house and my friends would invite girls and I would have sex with them girls while my girlfriend was in the house.
So yeah,
and then cry about like,
yeah.
And I'm like, why is she smashing bottles on my head?
I know, right? So, and it's just like, I will say one last thing about this whole thing is like those breakups, because I've done it to women and they've done it to me. Those breakups where I'm like emotionally destroyed, they hurt. Like I've been in jail for very stupid things and irresponsible behavior and stuff as a teenager, and because I had my own trauma, and I've that feeling that you fucked up, and I can't even describe it compared to the emotional breakups I had. It felt like especially this one girl where I will be like, she had like essentially guys tell me to fuck off and they were going to like beat the shit out of me and stuff like that. And so I was like 16 or 17. Also been jumped by a girl that I just told her boyfriend that he was a goof. And then they were hiding all behind trees and like 6 dudes jumped me for literally no reason other than I called him a goof to a chick that I was friends with or whatever. Right. But that feeling of like having your heart ripped out and like, and it's like honestly one of the worst feelings in the world. And then seeing them with somebody else and being like, that was me. And like everyone can understand that it's a harsh reality and it's a very painful thing.
Someone told me like that's the closest thing that you can get to say like grieving the death of a loved one, and not in like a ridiculous way, but it's like your body and your mind when you feel like that can't tell the difference between like
No,
can't tell yourself like, oh, this is ridiculous. I shouldn't be behaving like this. I should just get over it. Your body and your mind can't tell the difference. So it's like, I'm fucked. I'm just going to die.
Chelsea said this. That if we broke up, it'd be like a death because we've been together for so long, right? I didn't know when I was ever going to play this clip, but I think it's perfect now.
Because I know somewhere deep down in my heart, I still love you.
That worked perfect for that. I haven't seen that clip in so long.
I was like, I put it on the board and I was like, when am I going to use this? It's like a perfect moment. Obviously, however, there's all these different types of vampires, right? Traditional drinking blood vampires. Most real vampires are in small secret covens who actually do not drink blood in order to get the acquired energy they need from others. Another way to look at it is an actual vampire is not an undead bloodsucker, but is simply a mortal human that has energy issues and needs to feed on others to be normal. The psychic vampire, this is the special individuals that we call psychic vampires, seeing that they can mentally achieve their goals, absorbing energy from humans. Most regular people have probably had an experience with an energy vampire, even if they didn't know it at the time. You are probably just moving along with your life, and you run into people who simply exhaust you. You feel all the energy in the room leave with them, as it can be infused with a sense of depression when these people pop into a room with you and get physically near you. While the majority of people who make you feel this way are probably just self-centered, attention addicts, or just negative complainers, some of them might actually be psychic vampires, zapping the energy or happiness from your body. Many of these types of vampires may not even realize that they're doing this and what is going on with their interactions towards other people. However, some have investigated the oddities of these bodies and their ways they draw on energies of people near them and discovered there is some truth to the idea of vampiric qualities. Throughout mythology and history, several cultures have promoted this concept over many centuries, meaning that there's many early links to the modern psychic vampire, even though the modern media has only promoted undead, blood-drinking zombie kind of people as a vampire parasite, much like politicians are vampire parasites. It's true. Native American, I just added that. Native American tribes also are some prominent believers in real-life psychic vampires. The Hopi group of the Native, located in the northeastern region, is now called Arizona, calls the unique people the Petawaka. Sure. The Powawaka is a technically a sorcerer who feeds on the life force of a human being. This life force also has its name since it's a vital aspect of their spiritual belief of the Hopis, the Haisiki. Sure. Yeah, it's true. There's energy vampires everywhere. So,
you don't even realize that a lot of the time either.
No. If you want to read off some of the different psychic vampires, then we'll get into, are they good? Is it a good or bad thing? And then we'll talk about maybe a little bit about if people are psychic vampires themselves, kind of like what we just got into.
Yeah, well, the thing, the list I came across was the different types of energy vampires.
Energy eaters, they call them, yes.
So yeah, you have the victim. Some people enjoy playing the victim card and are always ready for a new sob story about a perceived slight. They are innocent, but the whole world is always against them. They tend to complain often and loudly about their problems.
Yes.
I'm sure we all know that kind of person. The criticizer. Some people spend a lot of time and energy criticizing other people, things, and situations. Nothing is ever good enough for them, and they can always find a fault in just about anything. The dramatizer. Some people create and attract a lot of drama. They always seem to be in the midst of a major catastrophe and often need your help and support. The manipulator. Some people are able to manipulate just about any situation to their advantage. They rarely say what they mean and usually have a hidden agenda. The negative thinker. Some people always see the glass as half empty. They have a very negative attitude towards life. They can always be counted on to point out the downside or potential risks without leaving any room for hope or excitement. And the last one then is the blamer. Some people are quick to place the blame on others. They are never at fault, but always willing to hand out heaps of shame and guilt to others around.
Very true, man. It's very true, right? It's like on point with there's definitely those people out there. Any type of person who can have power over another human being can sway on either side of good or bad line. Many times, the general public consensus. What else do I have? Let's see. Any type of person who can have the power over another human being can sway them on either side, good or bad. Many times, the general public consensus is that these people are bad simply because their needs or abilities. Yet, just like with any other type of power or even responsibility, a person can be good as others can be bad. Psychic vampires can be benign in their interactions with others. They absorb energy from using their powers to focus on getting leftover energy from an object the normal human being has recently touched instead of drawing it directly from a person. That's interesting. On the flip side of the coin, this type of vampire can be a true needy parasite, both literally and metaphorically, since the people tend to be very wanting of their own, even without their need of human energy or life force. The true definition of a real negative vampiric psychic being is one that knows that he or she is doing it and using their ability to attract your life force on purpose and truly fortify himself or herself on your personal energy. Now, we see this with politicians. This type of psychic vampire is highly aggressive and predatory in nature because he or she feels the necessity of stealing your energy without your permission in order to normally function or increase their own life force to a larger, more their life proportions for more personal gain. Most time, these negative energy suckers like to do what basically energy drive-bys, where they merely walk past their victim to get it close enough to draw energy from the surroundings of the victims, or even touch them. Just a tap or a bump will be sufficient to pull them directly from the person. Good old Mozart. At least it's copyright free. And that's so true though. Like this homeless guy in the street, and you're like, "Here's $1, jinx," and then you're like, "Suck." And to me, this whole idea does make me think of politicians. They're parasites. They consume our money, time, and energy. All of those will never get back, but they constantly are gaslighting you, lying to you, telling you what you want to hear, and then ripping the carpet underneath you from your feet and making you fall to the ground. And then they all parasitically stand over you and consume all your money and energy. Trudeau is a psychic vampire. Pierre is a psychic vampire. Trump is fucking definitely one. They all are these parasites that are just consuming our time and our energy forever until we stop them.
But that's the thing. There's no way to stop them. We're fucked. We're getting.
There's more of us than them.
And you know what? As well, I find that and maybe people won't agree with this, and I don't mean like a psychic vampire, energy vampire per se, but like I definitely think that stuff like social media now has become like the right hand tool of like these kind of people as well.
Yeah.
That's like the extension of them. It's like their sword in a way. So like while it mightn't be something that's actively doing it itself, it's a really good tool for them to be able to constantly kind of sap that life force out of you without ever having to do anything.
And I've been a victim of this, where somebody comments something like that's absurd, and then I do a video where I'm angry on TikTok responding to it. Like, I've definitely fell victim to some of the stuff, and people have fell victim to like me triggering them, which I've had people attack me. I talked about this recently, where people were attacking me on essentially TikTok, making videos about me because they don't agree with my nationalist ideology and like what it means to be Canadian and who the Canadian people are and all that type of stuff that I choose to speak out against. And I talked about this on Patreon recently with that little small episode that I did of Tomcast or Tom Talks or whatever I call it. And this idea of like, that yes, there's people like the idea of different cultures and stuff is so people can go visit those places, right? But what it means to be us, there is a national idea. What it means to be a nationalist is a good thing, because then like we used to be unified under a single nationality, right? Where we all mostly felt like a family, and like the Irish had the same thing and probably still do to some extent, but it's getting eroded. Same with the British or the Scottish. It was like a family. You all maybe didn't get along about everything. Families fight, but mostly you wanted to take care of each other. And Canada used to be like that, where we all felt like we were neighbors. 97% of this country was white. I'm sorry, that was true until around the 80s or 90s. And yeah, slow immigration is a good thing. But I said on the Patreon episode that some of these topics come up because like I never wanted to bring politics into the show, but I can't. It's too late now. Like I need to use this to actually kind of try to wake people up. Like I know we have fans that are black and native, and I'm sure even some Indian fans and stuff like that. I've seen our statistics and where people are listening in different countries and Russia and all sorts of different crazy places all across the world. And the idea is like I don't really have anything against other people, but don't like, if you want to celebrate your culture and you really want to make your culture prominent in a country that naturally wasn't like that, or was a Christian nation or whatever it may be, then go do that in your country where there's like billions of you. That's my point, right? Where if you come to Canada or Australia, even though I think the Australia, I think, or in Ireland, I think that Ireland should be kept for the Irish. In the same way Scotland should be kept for the, like, Canada has been a melting pot for a couple decades, right? But I still think that people come here and then they become their own psychic vampires and feed off the energy of others and our time and our money and our taxes. I want to make that point because like stuff gets brought up on the show and you may not like everything I have to say, but that's not the point. And I wrote this recently on Facebook. The government is trying to make you poor, unhealthy, and weak, so you are more easy to control, and you won't struggle when they finally admit that they're purposely trying to kill you. Most of you would willingly take the bullet to relieve your suffering when all you had to do was realize that we have the power and there's more of us than them. If you think a political parasite or anyone in government is going to make our lives better, you might as well tie the rope and take a big leap forward. You aren't helping with anyone with that attitude. And people might see that as harsh, but it's true. These people that are cheerleading for these fucking parasites is like disgusting to me. But if you come to a country, you should value and become what that identity of that country is. If I went to India, I would, and I love the culture so much, I would like embrace their culture and wear their clothing and go to their ceremony. You know what I mean? You understand?
A few times there, I thought you were going to make a misstep and say something.
But I didn't, though, so it's fine.
No, you didn't. I
I've
was
said
waiting,
worse.
but I was like, please do it.
Yeah. If I want to go build houses out of poop, I'd go to India or Africa, They literally brag about that. They're bragging about that on TikTok on one of my videos where they're like, you guys need to build more houses. What, for the people that the government's bringing in to replace us? Like, you don't understand. Like, these people have so low IQs in some regard, in some places. It's true. Once you have more and more kids, you can't take care of them and you can't educate them. And they're like, well, we have houses made of poop, and he's bragging about it. And I'm like, we build things out of wood and structure and make them strong to withstand the weather that we have in these countries. You fucking imbeciles. People drive me fucking crazy, man.
I knew you'd get it out of your system.
Yes. Psychic vampires are out there, and the ones who steal your energy without permission to leave you racing into a coffee shop after bumping into you on a sidewalk. That's like, I'm walking here. Get the fuck, some of those dudes in like New York or something like that. While you're not necessarily hanging around every street corner, or they're not necessarily hanging around every street corner, there are very few things for normal human beings to keep in mind about energy vampires. Those people who are extreme givers and have tendencies to be a personal doormat can be used as a metaphysical doormat as well. Highly sensitive people are vulnerable to having their energy drawn away by psychic vampires. These special people have developed many personal and mental boundaries. One of the reasons why they're so open and trusting and helpful to others, but lack of these protections make us susceptible to energy attacks. Being a Scorpio, I've always had walls up. That's kind of part of my personality. People like get fucking bringing up like the horoscope and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I actually kind of tend to believe some of the that we kind of choose when we were born, and we choose what parents we have for an experience here. I think that is quite that could be a real thing. And then like if you read the definition, if you read like the whole description of what a Scorpio is, it's like me to a T. And then I remember Billy shits on the stuff, but he didn't believe it. And I had him like, I was really into horoscopes when I was, I don't know, 19, 20, and he was like 60 or 17. And then he came in and he was like, I am a Virgo. I am the virgin. I'm a virgin. And it's like, he was like, I said it did describe him very well. And I was like, I told you, man. What are you?
Yeah, what am I?
What am I?
Let me find out.
I'll finish off this, and then we're bringing it to what about protection, and then we can then
Aries.
You're an Aries. Now
Yeah.
read it for me. I'll read a quick Scorpio thing just while we're doing this.
What will I type in? Horoscope
Just description
today,
or some shit.
just in general.
Just a description, I guess. There's a horoscope.com or some shit.
Yeah, I see that one.
I'm a water polarity negative.
It has like
topaz. I need to get a topaz or an opal.
Jesus, I don't know about this. Right, so ambitious, independent, and impatient.
That sounds like you.
Element fire. Let's see. Spirit color red. So Aries, Jesus Christ, this is definitely not me. Aries are trailblazers, passionate and independent. They never do something just because everyone else is doing it.
That's kind of true.
Yeah, I've probably always been like the outlier where people are like nerd, fucking like that for.
Yeah.
A ram needs to be 100% committed to a task at hand, competitive to the max. The best way to motivate an Aries is to turn something into a contest. They will always put everything they have into winning. Loyal, smart, and impulsive. They always have multiple projects on their mind and won't be satisfied until their work, social life, and personal lives line up exactly with the dream life they've envisioned. Okay, yeah. Those who are drawn to magnetic Aries may have trouble keeping up, but if they can, they'll have a friend for life. And Aries will always tell you what they're thinking with frankness that may occasionally border on rudeness. But even if they seem overly blunt with their opinion, that's only because they value honesty above all else, and it works both ways.
Yeah, it kind of does align. Even some of them are better than others. Like this one says my match is a Cancer, but like a lot of them I've seen Pisces, and Chelsea's is a Pisces. It's supposed to like balance me.
Yeah, I suppose like a lot of this is probably
like when I read mine, it's not gonna lie, it kind of sounds like me. Where'd that go? What is that again? So yeah, Scorpio, passionate, independent, unafraid to blaze their own trail no matter what others think. The same as yours. Scorpio signs make a statement wherever they go. They love debates. They aren't afraid of controversy, and won't back down from a debate. They also hate people who aren't genuine and are all about being authentic, even if authentic isn't pretty. And that literally describes me to a T in that paragraph. Heal your hearts. Don't miss this. No. Because of all these traits, Scorpios can seem intimidating and somewhat closed off to those who don't know them well. But what people don't realize is that even though a Scorpio may be I don't even know that word. I'm standoffish, I'm sure is what it kind of means. I don't know why I can't read that right now. As a water sign, they also are very in tune with their emotions and sometimes may find themselves caught up in their feelings. True. This leads to Scorpio's central conflict. These feelings that are what drives them and strengthens them. They can scare them. They can scare them and make them feel vulnerable and out of control. It's true, like their own emotions can. Because of this conflict, Scorpios, like their namesake, the scorpion, put up an outer shell and may seem a bit prickly. But once you get beyond the shell, they find loyalty, love, and person whose passion knows no bounds. Scorpios dives into all lives with 110% enthusiasm. It can be your most loyal friend, most dedicated employee, and your worst enemy if they want to be. So be cautious. And it goes on to like love traits and friendships. What are friends like a Scorpio? Scorpio's friend will tell you like it is, whether you want to know it or not. The good news is you'll never have to worry about where you stand with a Scorpio. They will let you know. Like, and that's why I've read tons of different shit. Obviously, some are better than others about a Scorpio, like who I like this sign I am, and they're pretty on point to a lot of times. Where I'm like, that is like it could describe a lot of people, sure, but at least as me goes, like there's people that are definitely not like that at all. But female Scorpios are, I guess, different than male Scorpios too. Because my mom is a Scorpio, and we have very same personality traits, but in very different ways, and we're very stern on both of our different beliefs. That's why we're always arguing. It's fun sometimes. Last time me and my cousin were yelling about immigration and stuff like that. And it's like, and then she was like telling us to like stop, and we're like, but this is what's happening. Me and him were just having a good conversation, but because we're kind of harsh. And like I've said before on the show, he grew up in Toronto, and he lived in one of the most multiculturalist cities in the world. And then eventually was like, like I was cool with it. I had friends of all different colors and creeds until they told me that I'm evil for being white. Then he's like, I'm done with this shit. So also those who are known to have leaky aura, just slowly, like it's like an old man just having dribbles of pee out of their penis, and this is what their energy is leaking off. Whether you have a little or no natural barriers from the everyday stressors, that will deplete you and suck away your energy. Practically a gourmet food buffet for negative psychic vampires, as they will lock on to you just because you leak out this type of energy. So now let's to end it on what you can do to protect you. There are several ways to defend yourself from unwanted life force siphoning by psychic vampires. One of the most popular ways and simple is to keep quartz crystals on you at all times, as it's supposed to be an equivalent of an undead bloodsucker's bane of garlic for psychic vampires. Also, building up mental barriers through practice and visualize it. Jesus Christ, can't talk it. Visualizing this visualization can prove helpful. So picture being surrounded by bright white lights or shimmering suit of armor. I've heard this too before with psychics and stuff. Imagining like you're a barrier of light, and mine to help block unfriendly vampire psychic attacks. So avoid psychic vampires in general as an easy way. These energy suckers from metaphysically pouncing on you. Keep an eye out for people who invade your personal space or your countries, just with intense purpose in their movements and get close to you. Watch out for people who are deeply staring at you from a distance. That is very creepy in general. Paying attention to those who stare at you from extended periods of times may help you stay in tune with the psychic vampire and what they feel, and that you feeling this energy being pulled from you. Just make sure that you're monitoring your health, mental, physical, and emotional, since negative energy vampires go for the weakest of beings. Just like that'd be creepy though. It's a guy sitting at like a Starbucks, and he's looking at like some fucking LGBT freak show, and he's like, "You're leaking, you're leaking."
I feel like now at this point in life, I have a really good radar for people that are like that. Yeah, and like I literally write my self-defense thing. If anybody wants my take on it, not that they do, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. I literally just have to cut people like that out now.
Yeah,
like I've seen it before, like at the gym that I train in or whatever. Like, and you get relationships with different people, and then I would soon realize that they're that kind of person. And I'm like, I literally cannot be around you. Even the same with like relationships and stuff now. When I start seeing a chick, or even like I go on a date or I like meet someone for the first time, I can instantly tell I'm gonna be like, this is gonna be soul destroying, and I just can't. It used to be the risk versus reward was like, you know what? I'm willing to like have all my energy and life force basically sucked out of me, so long as she sucks my soul out too. But like now for me, like if I meet a female or whatever, and like we go for coffee and we're having a conversation, I'm instantly like on that like radar where I'm like, yes, you're one of those. So I won't be pursuing this after this coffee. So as soon as this coffee is finished, I'm out.
Yeah, I know.
It's just not worth it. Like you can't change. People think, I change them and all. You can't change people like that. They're just, that's the way they carry on, and that's how they get their fucking, I don't know, their enjoyment or their energy or whatever is from doing that to other people. And like you will find it very hard to change somebody who's in that like mind frame.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I've had to cut a lot, and I've openly said this to even family where I'm like, if I'll cut you out of my life, like there's people on my one side of my family that like I'm not going along with your shit. You didn't let me come to family events, because I wasn't fucking vaccinated. I didn't take that stupid fucking clot shot, and they barred me from family events. So fuck you. I could care less. I don't want anything to do with you. And then I showed up after the fact, and then everyone was pretty silent with me. And then I saw that they had a Ukrainian fucking thing on their door. And I'm like, yeah, you people are fucking retarded. This is why I don't want to be around you. You're literally just like that fucking meme where it's like, I support the current thing. And it's like injections and fucking pride flags and Ukrainian banners. And I've had words with some of them. One of my aunt's posted, or I think she's like a nephew, not a niece or whatever. Fucking, we're like cousins. Yeah, cousins. I think. And we're not Facebook anymore because she posted that like no space for hate, and it's like Canada. I was like, it's not fucking hate, you fucking unintelligent and unemotional, like, or too emotional fucking female. It is the idea that people don't want their kids being taught about sexual ideologies and some Weimar Republic sinister shit in their school. It's up to the parents to teach them that. And if they want to push that shit on their kids, the school system should have nothing to fucking do with that. They should teach them basic math. History is a lie anyway. They're not going to teach you that. That's not going to be true. But like they should be teaching your kids the basics. And we don't even teach kids how to deal with financial issues or any of that shit. But they'll teach you, oh, you can cut off your dick. Give me a fucking break.
Do you know what? I don't know why this came into my head when you were talking there. Another thing that I really dislike, and I've definitely done it a few times where I've like just unfollowed people on Instagram and stuff, and it's such a small trivial thing. But like sometimes when I see these like, high like A-list kind of celebrities, whether it be writers, directors, fucking actors, actresses, whatever, and like they post stuff about like either Trump or whatever. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm a Trump supporter, I'm a this supporter, I'm a that supporter. But
Yeah,
like when those people say things about like, oh, well, you can't say no to immigration, or you can't say no to this, or you can't say no to that, right? And everyone, don't get me wrong, right? Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Like I can't say, well, I have to have my opinion and no one else can have an opinion because I want my opinion. So I'm not saying that. But sometimes like when I see somebody like Jamie Lee Curtis posting about some of these issues that the world is having, right? And I'm like, you are so far removed though from any consequence of these decisions that
Yes.
it literally won't matter if they bring the entire, like every single person in Nigeria and dump them in my hometown. Because you live in Beverly Hills in a gated community and you're never going to see the
We've seen this all the time where celebrities complain until like there was people in their neighborhood, even during like
That's what I'm
riots.
saying. Like, are you going to let these people, like, if you have a 15-bedroom mansion, why don't you just fill up the 14 other bedrooms with immigrants?
That's why I like that idea of the guy that's like, I see you support Biden or whatever. It's like, and it's, flooding the country with immigrants, especially illegals that just get brought in here and given housing and food. He was like, he brings like a bunch of Mexicans, obviously like it's acting or paid. And he's like, can these people live in your house? And he's like, well, no. And it's like, well, you want this, right? So, and so it's like, it's not our responsibility to take care of the third world problem. And me and MK talked about this, Mary Kate, of like, it's not our problem that we have to deal with your irresponsible birth rate in third world countries where you breed like rats. That's a fucking fact. It's not we don't have to, we
A
shouldn't have
guy
to deal with
done
that
that
shit.
here as well, like the exact same thing. He had like, he got this jacket done up. He had other people with him. He had a camera crew, like obviously friends and stuff. He had this big like clipboard with all like official looking paperwork and stuff on it. And what they were doing was they were going around and interviewing all these people in Dublin who were like, out stopping traffic and like protesting and everything. All these like well-to-do, like people that come from good families and like have like money and shit and live outside of Dublin, don't live in inner city Dublin, like live in the nice places that they're not being touched. And he was asking, what are you here for? And they're like, oh, well, it's not right. What, people are saying like that these people can't come in and they're coming from a war-torn country and they're this and they're that and they're all this shit, right? And at the end of it, he goes, oh, so that's fine. And so what we're doing today is we're taking information from people who feel like that. So what like you obviously have your own house. And they're like, yeah. It's like many, bedrooms or many rooms. And they're like, oh, 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. Like, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all your information and then you'll be contacted and we're going to do placements. So we're going to place some of these families in, people's houses like yours and all these other people. And like instantly just the look on their face is like, wait, what? What do you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
that's
Until
what we're
it
going
comes
to do.
into their
You'll
backyard.
get paid, like, and they're saying like, oh, you'll get subsidies and from the government. You won't have to pay for these people, but they'll just live in your house. They'll
Mhm.
get their own money. They'll get welfare. They'll get everything. You won't have to pay for anything or do anything for them, but they will just live in your house. And they're like, yeah, no. And he's like, no, but it's only for 6 months just so we build them their own houses. And like, not one person agreed to it.
Well,
They're
even I can't remember that guy's name ever. I really like him. I posted some of his clips. He's a big dude. He's very outspoken. You would know of the guy. I can't remember his name, but he's essentially just made the remarks of like, it's not our responsibility to take care of these people. We shouldn't be replacing our culture to bring in all of these people. It's not our responsibility. And the fact that he's like, we've done programs where they've tried to help these people in other countries to like facilitate themselves and to make their countries better. And guess what? Either the politicians are siphoning it and stealing most of it through money laundering scams, or the people that are given the money not doing anything with it. They're just doing it to enrich themselves. Like the fact that people will, because in the moral of the story of this conversation is that people are mostly brainwashed, right? That's why I have that intro now that I've changed it to, because most people only believe in what they do because they've been programmed and brainwashed to believe that. Even like, why is our responsibility to take care of the entire third world? And it's like you have the right wing. This is interesting. There's a meme of this. The right wing Jews or the British Empire or some of the cabal that is facilitating these wars that displace people. And then you have the right wing or the left wing Jewish syndicate, the crime, the cabal, the also has to do with other crime syndicates across the world that then bring in and actually are NGOs for mass immigration. So they're doing this on purpose. It's being done on purpose, not at the behest and request of the people, but at the destruction of themselves. And people understand the amount of taxes. Jeremy was going through it on the Raging Dissident on a show of the amount of taxes that we've spent on the most absurd shit. And I don't want to get into it because it'll just make me very angry. But it's fucking crazy. Billions of dollars to this, millions of dollars for gender studies in some fucking far off land that probably never reaches these places in like Africa or fucking, it's crazy. The amount of money that they're stealing from us.
There's an Irish like church led, the Bishops of Ireland, I think, started a charity in Ireland in 1973 called Trócaire. And basically what it started off was, I think, I don't know if it was like brown envelopes they would send around to like houses and the schools, and it would be like, put your spare change into these envelopes and then like someone will come back and collect them. And the whole thing was supposed to be like, we're building schools, we're building wells and stuff in Africa, was what you were always kind of told. And then even like when I got to like school, like primary school, like you're like 7, 8, 9, that kind of age.
Yeah.
You would be given them in school and sent home. You would be sent home with what they call a troke or a box, just like a little cardboard fold-out box. It looks kind of like a half-liter milk carton.
Yeah.
And it had a little slot in it where you could put coins in. And basically the whole idea was to leave it at home for like, say, a month, and people would fill it up to the top with their coins and then bring it back to the school and the church would come and collect it. Now, they have been collecting money since 1973 and building schools in these areas, right? And for some reason, just in 2020, from 23 to 24, they collected 66.3 million just in Ireland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, someone started to do the maths on this, and they were like, okay, so then let's multiply that out over all the years since 1973. And they were like, we should have ended like starvation and hunger, and they should be living in like, it should look like fucking Dubai at this stage. So like,
all these countries.
What's happening here? Like
all that money that they sent to like that Sarah McLachlan song, and it's all these like Africans with flies on their faces. We should have solved that problem literally decades ago. The amount of money that people has sent to like UNICEF and shit. And guess what? UNICEF is involved with child trafficking. Most of these fucking organizations are. So people, stop believing in your shit. Stop giving money to fucking cancer research and all the other absurd shit that they're just literally they're just money laundering. That's all it is. They're stealing from you. Politicians are parasites, energy vampires, literally energy vampires that are there to just suck you dry until you die, until you're like, off of Scary Movie where he comes and he's just like, everything sucks.
Yeah, it's just like a shell, like a husk.
Yeah, that's
look. I'd be quite happy, right? I wouldn't do it the way it's being done, but I would be quite happy to get behind something like this, like helping other nations or helping other people. but we
if
don't
we
have
can
our
take
own,
care of our own.
yeah, we don't have our own shit figured out. So it's
I
like
know.
we can't eat like in Ireland. There is so many homeless families. Like
Yes,
now I
in
don't mean
Canada.
when people say oh homeless people, I don't mean some crackhead who's
Yeah.
like after been shooting heroin for the last 20 years who needs a house. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like
Families.
like a couple that both work full time and have small kids that have been thrown out of their house or can't afford to pay thousands a month for like a fucking 2-bedroom shithole house.
That's same in Canada, man. It's happening in the Western world everywhere.
And it's like, so how right, we can't house these people or give them a chance to even get on the property market, but we're just gonna like bus in
There's
hundreds of thousands of extra people, like
250,000 homeless people. I think it's more than that. But on record, in Ontario alone, it's like 80,000 homeless people and their families too. And guess what? No, what's the craziest thing is 85% of the people using the food banks in like big cities like Toronto are
Are not
people that were never born in this country. And then they're bragging and doing TikTok videos of how people can scam and get free food. Fuck these parasites. Fuck the politicians' parasites. And fuck these parasites that show up in our country and wanted to get handed everything from our tax dollars when they've never done anything to benefit this country. And that's where we're going to end the show. And I don't care if you don't like my opinion about this stuff. It is just cold, hard facts. No, you can call me a racist, but you can never call me wrong because I'm right about all of this shit. And I know I am because I can prove it. And I will debate people on this. If you would like to ever come on the show and you're some liberal fucking cuckold and you actually want to debate, I will debate you. So, you know, if you support the show and like the show, obviously 5-star rating, reviews, and all that stuff. And if you're a psychic vampire, we're going to kick you to the curb, kick rocks. But, you know, like we said at the beginning of the show, support the Patreon, all the merch, all that stuff. You might not like all the opinions on the show, and that's not the point of the show. It's like we're allowed to have different opinions and think differently and maybe find common ground. And, hey, at the end of the day, I do believe they're coming after all of us. So if you don't wake up now, you're going to be dead later. So
bye.
good way.